Hello and welcome to the Inside Integration Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mr. Jason Savage, and with me, as always, is my other host, Mr. Chris Barlow.
Hello.
And joining us today is a good friend of ours, Mr. Tyler Bogart.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Pretty good, man.
We're excited. We're excited to have you on, Tyler. We've been talking about this, and in behind the scenes, we got to spend roughly 18-ish hours or so together previously here in Denver at the Josh.AI headquarters. So again, thank you for that invitation and that exposure. That was very eye-opening and part of the genesis of why we wanted to talk to you on the cast today.
Yeah, definitely. No, I appreciate you guys making the time to be a part of it. We're really excited to be working with you as well. And I figured there's no better way to, kind of kick off this relationship than let you guys kind of see what's under the hood, what's coming, how we got to where we are. And so I appreciate you making the time also.
Absolutely. So just real quick, when we talk about, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff with Josh.AI today, but for people that are just joining us maybe and figuring out that, hey, these are the Josh reps, that's an experience where dealers could go to Denver and spend some time with you and look under the hood. That's something that could happen, right? Is that, am I right about that?
Yeah, definitely. So, obviously it takes some coordination, but that's certainly why we built that space was, obviously a space where we could kind of showcase what Josh is capable of, or we can test, before the releases come out and all of that, but also a space that dealers could come and experience Josh, or dealers could bring customers. I think actually the day after you guys were there, we had someone come in from Florida, actually an end user that wanted the full Josh experience. And so there's lots of ways that we can kind of help. And that I think is a big thing that goes throughout our company is really partnering with the dealer and kind of putting them first. And we feel like that sometimes the industry shies away from that and forgets that the dealers are the lifeblood of this industry. And so we want to make sure we put together as many resources as possible to help them be successful.
Yeah. And it definitely, again, that experience really, it just does kind of show that you guys kind of are an open book, right? Like there's no weird secret roadmap. There's no anything else. It's like, hey, this is who we are. We're here for dealers and here's the stuff we're working on. Come and see it,
Yeah. Well, and the other idea behind that room, particularly was we wanted to really showcase what Josh can do as a standalone control platform. And as you guys experience, I mean, that room kind of encompasses just about anything that you would see in a typical customer environment. Lighting, shades, HVAC, audio, video, all of that. And so that's kind of the other part of that story is we intentionally built that space out, selected the products that are in that space to show kind of what that standalone Josh experience looks like if you have that dealer that's interested in doing that in one of their projects.
And it's really one of my favorite parts of the demo. And again, this is just because I'm kind of coming from the tech side is, when you make a scene right in the room and it's, I'm sure you've done it a billion times or whatever, but it really comes across like just how easy it is to just make this system your own and do it, in a fast way and just plain text, whoop, no drag drop, no bring out the laptop. It's just right in there and nice and easy to do. So that was super impressive to me.
Awesome. Yeah, that tends to be the moment that it sets in. It's like, oh, this is more than just voice because, like you, I came from the integrator side and I'm very transparent that I was, very unsuccessful with the brand actually. But what drew me to it was learning about the things that I didn't know about it. And so that's what we've really made a conscious effort to do. And what I really try to do with every one of my conversations is essentially hear the things that I wish I would have known about this product that I think could have made me really successful because there's a lot more than just voice to it. And a lot of those things are what my customers were asking me for. Right. When I was on the integrator side, I just didn't think the solution necessarily existed. And so glad that those concepts were able to set in, you guys.
and we, definitely. I mean, and so you touched on a little bit. I mean, you are from the integrator side. I'm sure that's a big part of why you are where you are. Being able to bring that insight into a manufacturer again for a nerd like me, that means a lot, right? There's guys who have had my experiences and that there's some empathy there, and you kind of get what we're going for and going through. Where did you start? We typically ask all of our guests. It seems like everybody started underneath the dashboard. So I'm kind of wondering if you if you're like the rest of our guys, or if there's a different genesis there for you.
Yeah, a good question. So My first foray into like tech, I guess, into a tech job was actually Fry's Electronics. Do either of you guys know that brand? I know you do,
Oh,
Chris.
yes.
Yeah, you probably do, Jayson. Yeah. So
I moved to the West Coast too late to fully experience
So,
the technical flea market that is Fry's, man.
was it the
yeah,
gold mine
so
themed store, the alien invasion themed store,
That's
the
Burbank. Yep.
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea store? Like you got a few cool investments.
Yeah. What
you
was
do,
your store's
So
theme?
yeah, so like every store had its own theme, right? And obviously the Texas themes were very Texas. And what's funny about that is my dad actually, rest in peace. He used to take me to Fry's when I was young. It was like my favorite thing was I grew up in rural Texas, and so we drive to Fry's on the weekends when he had a gadget or something he wanted to buy, because he was kind of a equipment technician for a semiconductor company, so he was really technologically minded. And so anyway, he would take me there and he would go do his shopping, and I remember I would just go straight to the CD aisle and I would just like stare for like ever, just pick through the different CDs, right? Obviously you can tell there's music, right?
Yeah.
In my blood a little bit. So anyway, it was like my favorite store when I was a kid, and I always said I want to work there someday. And so anyway, I don't know, I was probably in my early 20s, and I was tired of waiting tables, and I had a friend that got a job at Fry's, one of my best friends, who ended up being my roommate for a little bit. And so anyway, I went and got a job there, and I was just kind of a shelf stalker. No sales background, nothing like that. I worked, cashier jobs and server jobs before that. And so I started stocking shelves, made friends with some of the salespeople in the computer department, and saw the paychecks they were getting. And I was like, oh, I want to do that.
Sure.
I think I can do this. So I started learning how to sell, right? Or sell. Retail sales is obviously very different than consultative selling, that I think is the right way to sell. But that was where I kind of got my roots, was selling on a retail floor. Saw the paychecks the supervisors were getting, and I was like, oh, I think I want to do that. And so, kind of made my way there. And that was my first management job also. And so it was a fun gig while it lasted, but eventually it just, those big retail, obviously the landscape of retail has changed a lot. And especially in like the early 2010s, that was when, a lot of these retailers really had to start making changes to their business if they didn't account for, or didn't make those adjustments in like 2008 when the economy took it down.
Sure.
So unfortunately, it became a place that just wasn't a right fit anymore, and had a handful of people that actually went to go work at Sleep Number of all places. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to go follow those guys. So I started selling mattresses.
What's your number?
The electronic store to mattress store exodus, as
well. And what's really funny is when you look at like what Sleep Number does, it's actually a very tech focused company. They take something that traditionally is a very like analog thing and actually put technology into it. And so it kind of fit a little bit the tech itch, but just to put it bluntly, like working in a mall, selling mattresses to whoever walked in on an up rotation was just not fun. So the good thing about
can you have Sbarro for lunch?
Yeah, it wasn't fun. Funny enough, the manager that I worked for still runs a store right down the road from my house, and I just bought a bed from him. So made some good connections. But what I will say is they had this whole method called selling by numbers. And it's essentially this, like, it was at that time, I think it was a 6-step process to like how you should approach a sale. And they kind of go more into the psychology of selling versus the retail mentality of like, just sit there and bug them until they buy something or tell you to, kick rocks. So I was grateful for that. After about 8 months, I was like, man, I can't do this anymore. So I had a friend that was an installer at Star Power, which is probably a name that many of us are familiar with, sure. Especially if you know the Dallas market. And I thought it was just going to be a similar Fry's type job, go work on a retail floor and sell electronics again. And then I quickly realized that, what do you mean people spend, $10,000 on a pair of speed? What do you mean people spend $150,000? What's an automation system? And I just went down this rabbit hole and fell in love with the industry. And so, that was a really good stepping stone. I spent, 6 years roughly there, and started just as kind of retail sales, and ended up actually running one of their locations in South Lake for a few years before leaving to go work in Colorado for Logic Integration, who also is probably a name that many of us are familiar with. And that Star Power was great because it kind of got my foot in the door to understand the integration side while still having a retail foot traffic. I don't think going cold into an integrator is an easy thing to do if you don't have experience in the integration industry. But I think what was great about Star Power was the experience of like having that retail foot traffic, so you can kind of start by just selling the onesie twosie TVs in theater rooms and really start learning the automation on the back end. And so anyway, logic integration, long story behind that, but ended up moving to Colorado to go work there and spent about another 6 years there. Had an amazing time working there. Great team, tons and tons of experience and awesome stuff that I learned before going through some family changes that brought us back to Texas.
Sure.
And
Sure.
here I am at Josh. So hopefully that wasn't too long of a thing, but that's kind of how I got to where I was or where I am. Is that's kind of been my journey of adulthood through my career.
That's part of what this cast is all about, right? Like it's the people, it's the, what are you selling? What are you doing? Where'd you come from? And I think all of that stuff, while not everybody's been through the exact same thing, all of that stuff is really relatable. And I think there is sort of that through line. Like you came from somewhere that was, electronic related, or you had a hobbyist in your family. I mean, mine was my grandfather with like the ham radio in the basement, and the Canadian Armed Forces showing up. Like, what are you listening to Morse code for? And stuff like that. So it's good to hear that. The apple didn't fall too far from the tree. It sounds like.
Yeah, the biggest, it definitely fell on the other side of the tree though. My dad was very much like a gearhead and the mechanical guy. I don't have the patience for that. So all of my jobs have been sales. I'm just going to throw it out there that like, yeah, I know how to mount a TV. I know, I was certified in Control 4 programming. I kind of know the ins and outs of most of this stuff enough to be dangerous, but I just don't have this like special thing called patience. And so I've primarily been on the sales side of things, and I envy the people that have really, that find joy in like tweaking to the point of like figuring out a problem. I just like put it down and say I'll figure it out later or call somebody. I just don't. So my dad was definitely he was the non-sales guy, right? I don't know where I got that trait from, but we maybe similar interests, but definitely different sides of that interest.
There you go. Left brain, right brain.
It's funny. You and I'm just marking you down as did not start out underneath the dashboard, just so we can keep track of.
For the drinking game at home, you don't have to drink.
Yeah, that's a no drink. It's funny you mention it, because there is one of the common threads is that there is a moment where integrators, like, you almost like step through this, this Alice in Wonderland thing, and it's just this Technicolor world of, you hit the nail on the head, like these $10,000 pairs of speakers and all the custom things you can do. And I think a lot of people go through that. I sort of, I went from installing like M&S intercom systems to, whoa, what do you mean we can, mount flat panels and whole house audio and that sort of thing. And like, it's just this world kind of opens up in front of you where, wow, I didn't know that this stuff was possible. And I think as custom integrators, I think that's something that we, all together kind of need to work towards, getting that out into the mind, right? Like, you talk about home electronics and people think, okay, it's a TV and I'll hook up this Apple TV to it and whatever, it's done now, right? Usually not a thought to universal remotes or whole house audio or anything else. And no, this is something that could make your life better, right? Like we could enhance your life with the things that we could put in. You could have music everywhere. You can have, simple control where you just talk into the air and have your house do stuff for you. And that's, that's something we got to do a better job of kind of getting out there in the, in the custom world,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So when you look at the opportunity, so we'll switch back to the vein of Josh.AI. And when you look at, obviously you're fairly new, I guess, to the company, relatively speaking, but when you look at what that opportunity looks like as fresh from the integration space, and you gotta, obviously you're looking at it from factory eyes now, and you kind of look back to kind of who you were, a couple of years ago when you were still an integrator. What's like the thing that you'd like to shout out to all the integrator people to like say, hey, like I'm one of you, but like this is the thing that you should be paying attention to with Josh? Do you have like a specific set of things or a specific example of that's really like hey, like this is the thing?
Yeah, I don't. It's hard because it's probably less of it being a feature and more of it being just inherently what our product is. And so I guess what I mean by that is we're really the first, and I think truly the first, to really approach control from a software perspective. We're also the first to really bring AI to any extent into the home in the professionally installed side of it, right? Obviously, you kind of have the DIY that's been around for a long time, but like the professionally installed solutions. We're really the first that is approaching it software first. And what I mean by that is you look at any control platform out there, there's tons and tons of boxes in many cases, right?
Sure.
I was a Crestron dealer for a long time. I was a Control4 dealer. I know you guys were the Savant reps for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of really great things that those products do. And there's really good fits for them. And obviously they become the powerhouses that they are for a reason. But, when you look at the way that they all do business, they kind of have their little intricacies here and there that are different. But at the end of the day, their goal is to provide a solution comprised of a significant amount of boxes, physical pieces of hardware that go into a customer system to make that experience. We approach things in a very different way. We make, 4 pieces of hardware. We have 2 remotes that are partner products with, Ava, and then we have our own remote and touchscreen coming out later this year. So right now we essentially make, 4 different hardware SKUs with a couple different colors on each. And so we believe philosophically that software is really what makes the customer experience first and foremost. So everyone else, they sell you a box, you attach software to it. That's how you deliver your customer's control experience. With us, we kind of flip that backwards. You sell software first and you attach hardware to that software to make it all work. And so I think that's the big thing to pay attention to, is really just more that, we are truly approaching the market in a very, very different way than anyone else out there. And I also don't want to pretend like I'm on a high horse, saying that we've got it all figured out, right?
Sure.
I think there's definitely some things that we are unquestionably more innovative from than anyone else you'll see in the market. But I don't know that anyone's solution is perfect. I think what I'm just trying to say is our solution is very different. And I think dealers are starting to take notice of that and are interested in how it could potentially fit into their business and what it means for their business. I mean, look at the way that the market has changed just over the last few years, right? Chris, you talked about audio and TVs and all of that. Well, I argue most of the time that we're really creating environments for our customers. Like you guys were at Lightapalooza. And what's interesting about Lightapalooza is it seems like a lot of the crowd that used to go to the, big CE Pro 100, kind of the Total Tech Summit event, you see a lot of those guys at Lightapalooza.
Yep.
So why is one of the most popular and attended shows in the industry, in the AV and automation industry,
about lighting,
about lighting, or, AV brands really aren't even allowed to exhibit there unless you were in the lighting business.
Right.
You ask yourself, why is that? And I think it's because more and more the integrator's job has changed. It went from kind of installing speakers and TVs to creating these universal remote scenarios to kind of automating some of the homes. Well, now we're trying to own more of that home because, we think we are more forward thinking than traditionally who provided things like lighting fixtures and shades and all of those. And so I think all of that just kind of to center around Josh, and, I won't make this just a complete Josh sales pitch, but when you look at how we fit in the market, we really embrace the fact that there are other companies out there that are making all kinds of different products that are very, very good at what they do.
Sure.
We don't want to reinvent the wheel on those products. We just want to be a really cool layer of software that can unify those products and give the customer a great way to interact with their home. Essentially going back to the roots of what this industry is, right? Bringing the best in class products together to work all as one. We're not trying to own the project. Right. We just want to be in all of your projects.
Right. Yeah. We're not trying to be the central focus, just part of the focus. Right.
Exactly. And so that I think is kind of obviously a little long-winded, but hopefully tells a story of why I think dealers should pay attention. We want to be a vehicle that allows you to create environments for your customers using the best in class products that are already out there. And we want to be a vehicle that gives your customer an ever-growing, improving user experience versus repetitive hardware cycles to get the latest, greatest features 5 or 6 years down the road, right? So I think it's just a fundamentally different approach. And again, I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong, but we're very different. And I think it's starting to hit a note and resonate. And we're getting really, really good feedback about where we're going as a business.
Well, and there's definitely, and I feel the same. I think, based on feedback that we've gotten, that does endear you to a lot of, custom integrators where, they want to use what they're comfortable with. They don't necessarily want to be siloed into, a full stack of gear with the same logo on it, because these things are guaranteed to work together and it doesn't really work with anybody else. And the fact that it's you guys kind of put out there that you're a software company first, I think that definitely resonates with a lot of folks, where yes, you can pick your best in class stuff, whatever video matrix you want to use, whatever audio switcher you want to use, whatever streaming box, as we go. And the fact that you guys can iterate so quickly and get, new things into, new control points into your products, I think that's definitely making you guys popular for sure. Because it kind of speaks to a lot of custom integrators ethos, right? It's, hey, I'm the guy, I'm picking this stuff out. We had one of your fellow Texans, from Joseph from Screen Innovations, and he's
Mr. Utley, my Mr. boy. Utley. I love that guy. One of my favorites.
People.
He's great, and we kind of touched on it. That there's this concierge of cool, right? Where you're, you as the electronics guy in the project, like you can definitely get your fingers into as much stuff as you're comfortable with, right? Like you can do lighting, you can do the shades, you can do outdoor shades, you can do the control platform, because you're seen as the technology guy, and all of this stuff is technology or affected by technology. So that's kind of a change in thinking for a lot of integrators, but your process at Josh kind of dovetails into that, where, yeah, I'm the expert. This is, this is what I want to do. I don't want to use this video switcher that, I can't use with anything else. I want to use what I want to use. And I think that's great. And I think that's something that we, when we're out there talking about a product, that's definitely something that we touch on a lot. And, it'd be one thing if it was, open and okay, we control this and it's kind of spotty. No, this stuff is, it is rock solid, right? Like we saw your testing lab. We saw the speakers on the ceiling where your remote workers can actually voice in to send Josh commands to make sure that they're going to work in that glass box that poor young man was sitting in. And it's super impressive, right? Like you guys don't release anything that isn't just thoroughly tested. There's nothing half-assed out here. And, that's appealing to me for sure. And, based on your background, it seems like that's something that you wouldn't have it any other way. Right. Like, this is something that you will fight for because you understand the plight of the custom integrator. And that's commendable for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I'm not going to solve everyone's problems. But I do think that there are, you should at least be interested in having conversations about what we're doing if you're in this space, because we're the fastest, one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing brands. We've got tons of buzz. And it behooves everybody, whether there's a fit for it in your business now or not, to at least be aware of what we're doing, because it is vastly different. I think, look, we're seeing more of this happen right in front of us. We've been told for a long time that recurring subscriptions are not a way that you can go to market in this industry, in the control space. Mm-hmm. Most people are doing that now, right? Or trying to figure out a way to do that. And so we've been a little bit ahead of the curve on a lot of that stuff. And then obviously just AI in general. I firmly believe that even integrators, if you're not figuring out a way to leverage AI in your business for one thing or another, right? Not necessarily creating a product in like we have, but using AI as a note taker in Zoom, or helping write press releases using ChatGPT, stuff like that. There's all kinds of ways that you can apply AI into your business. And I think in general, if you're in the tech world, really in any industry, and you're not figuring out a way to implement it into your business somehow, then you're going to get left behind pretty quickly. And, we're fortunate that it's in our name, and we've been doing it for a really, really long time. So we were really early in that as well.
Well, and it does, in your name, the fact that it is Josh.AI, that's what makes the automation system magical, right? Like this is the automation system. Functionally, if you look at the world out there, you'd be kind of hard pressed to find another company that does automation, right? Even though they're all automation companies. And yeah, it's great. You can make this happen when you press a button, or you can do this. Well, the fact that you guys are looking at time of day, right? And you can, these things can be easily programmed to actually use Josh's intelligence to, make magic in your home. That's just the coolest.
Yeah, and I think, those are some of the things when you want to point to like maybe specific feature sets, because I'm sure there are people that are going, okay, that's a great story. What is it, what does it mean for the customer? I think when you actually point to what that means for the customer, like how does all this translate to the dealer and customer benefits? You mentioned it perfectly. Like I had more and more customers that maybe grew up with technology, right? We're kind of seeing a generational shift. Not every one of our customers is, are baby boomers anymore, right? We're
Sure.
getting a lot of, even some, Gen Z, millennials
Mhm.
that are, that are wealthy, that are buying our products and services, that grew up with technology. They don't necessarily want to DIY everything, right? Because as you guys know, it's the customers that we have, their time is more important than their money.
Right.
You have to build value in it, but that's the thing. At the end of the day, these guys don't want to kick integrators to the curb and do it all themselves, but they want a little bit more flexibility than I think what you can get with some of these platforms, right?
Sure.
They don't want to have to call the integrator every single time they want to make a change. If they want to create an automation for something in their home, it should be easy. The system should adapt to the customer's needs versus it kind of getting set up and programmed and remaining stagnant.
Right.
And it shouldn't require the integrator to be chained to that project indefinitely to make those changes. It should be something simple and easy. And I think that's really where we hit the nail on the head in the market is it's not that we're the only system that can do these things. Every control system out there can do the things, the actual actions, but how easy we make it and the value that it gives to the end user and the integrator long term, I think is really the specific thing that happens when you approach the market the way that we've approached it, right? Everyone knows how to use language. Obviously, you can talk to the home with what we do, but building a complex automation using natural language, when I say good morning, if it's sunny outside, lower the shades and set the lights to 30 degrees. If it's after sunset, it's just using basic things that we all know how to do.
Right. Instead of a ton of then actions and ifs and
exactly
logic
right.
and triggers and yeah.
I think seeing those are really where it clicked for me, because I did have more and more customers that were asking me for those kinds of things. Like, I don't want to have to call you every single time, right? I want to call you when there's a problem, but making a quick basic change, I don't want to have to call you every single time.
Yeah.
And, I think I had a lot of people that were asking for that. I think I also had a lot of people that were saying, I don't want to do a control system.
Yep.
And that's kind of our story.
That's
right?
a trend. Sure.
It's a trend, right?
Like
Alex
the Uncola of it's like the 7-Up of the automation world, right? We're the Uncola, right? Sort of borrow an old ad tagline or whatever. Like I love that about your project and product. I think it is also a project, right? Like I was thinking about how you guys have like crowdfunded some of the developments with the sense of ownership from the community. That's one thing I wanted to get a comment about you, or from you about. Is that Josh.AI community. I've never seen anything like that in really other than maybe like some of the 3D printing forums or whatever that I like to nerd out on.
It's like an enthusiast forum, right? Like
right.
But for a control system, for some reason, it's awesome.
How valuable do you think that is, not only for integrators, but also for Josh to have that sort of open doorway of communication with the people that use their products?
Yeah, I think it's huge, right? I think that again, it's back to the roots of what this industry was all about. Community, kind of making cool things happen that maybe are a little unconventional to serve a customer need. We are a very, very dealer focused company, very dealer focused. That is literally what guides our direction and how we've gotten to where we are right now. Everyone wonders, like, what's the magic, what's the secret sauce? It's like, just listen to the people that sell your product. And, when I say every single feature request gets logged, I mean every single one. We've literally had, someone say, hey, on most apps, when you swipe one direction, the screen moves that way, but yours goes the opposite. And like, that's been corrected type thing, right? So nothing is ever too big or too small. We always ask and solicit that feedback. And that is what informs our roadmap. So everything that we're doing today is because dealers have asked us to. And I think that's a really cool story to tell as well, is that we have that focus. And so you talk about the community, right? There's obviously the Josh.AI installer Facebook group. And I don't think that you'll ever find a CEO on really any product in this industry. I shouldn't say any product, but look at any of your other professional groups with any product in this industry and tell me if the CEO is the most active person with the Facebook group.
Probably not. And if they are, people are going, "Don't you have a day job?" But like
Right.
Alex has figured out a way to like incorporate that as part of like what's the guiding mantra. It's amazing.
It is, right?
What's a better thing to incorporate is that kind of interaction, right? Like if more
100%.
CEOs, man, yeah.
It does. It was actually funny because he is so active and we in general are, but he definitely leads that charge. We had a guy in there who was asking a technical question, and I think a bunch of us were traveling at once, and it went like 2 days. And the guy's like, "Hey, isn't there any employee from Josh that is on this group?" And one of our other friendly dealers was like, "Well, yeah, but did you email support?" And he's like, "Oh no, I forgot. I'll do that." And so it's I laugh a little bit about that, but it does show the level of engagement that we have and that people expect is I think superior to really anyone in the industry. Down to that level of like interacting with people on Facebook. We do quarterly dealer surveys as well, and I try to we need more people that participate in it. I think people might be jaded with dealer surveys in general and not seeing the results. But, I promise you guys that are listening to this, we read every single response, everyone, and not just we. Alex, our CEO, reads every single response. And I think that's a very important thing because we use those to inform what we need to put on our roadmap. Again, at the end of the day, we're here to serve the dealer because the dealer is who's representing our product to the customers. And if the dealer is telling us, XYZ will help me sell more jobs and Josh, then that's where we want to focus our efforts. So does that answer your question, Jayson?
Yeah, totally. And the software focus, like there's so many layers to this onion. I'm like, oh, I want to ask him this. Oh, I want to talk about that. But like, I'm trying not to be like a cat with a laser pointer with, that's kind of if I want to describe what's going on in my brain right now, it's kind of like what I'm thinking about. But yeah, again, that sense of ownership and the software focus, right? Like this kind of ties back into the point of, we've heard you say it, but let's take some of the dollars that you're going to spend on your system out of the rack and simplify the control aspect of this. And oh, by the way, the experience that you have on day 1 is going to be different than the experience that you have on day 30, which is going to be different than the experience that you have on day 365, because the more you use the system, the more it's going to understand what you're trying to do or what you're trying to create with the house. You don't have to call a guy. You don't have to call one of our dealers to come out there and make a change in your home, because chances are you're maybe technically savvy enough to be to say like, hey, in this room, I'd like this to happen. The customer can edit and make those actions happen themselves in the home, right? Like, so those are big takeaways. One thing that I actually did want to get your comment on, and I think one of the mysteries about Josh.AI is some of the pricing with the software, right? Mm-hmm. So you mentioned an RMR model, but there's also a model where the client can just sell the system to the end user, activated, ready to go for lifetime. Like from your perspective, like I personally see a huge benefit to that because customer has a fixed cost of operation, a fixed cost of ownership from right out of the gate. But any comments or any thoughts on that, on the nuances of what that looks like?
Yeah. So, recurring revenue has been a big talking point overall in the industry for a really long time. And, look, I don't have the answer for everybody's business. But, I was fortunate in the shop that I worked at that we were very focused on recurring revenue. And if anything, what recurring revenue does is it creates a healthy business. So, if you're 3 to 5 people and you're just chasing projects and that's working for you, cool, right? Because managing recurring revenue can be challenging if you don't have the right tools. We've got an answer for you. You can buy it, what we call a one-time purchase. It comes with a lifetime subscription to the software, and you're good to go, right? And when I say lifetime, it doesn't mean lifetime of the home. It means lifetime of the customer. So the customer can take that lifetime subscription 8 years from now and move it to their new house if they want to. We've had that happen on many occasions where, somebody buys in at lifetime, wants it in their next home, they take their software plan with them, sometimes the gear, but they can do that.
Like anybody that's had a universal remote or whatever goes, oh yeah, that's kind of the model of my URC from 2007, 2008. I can just take this with the system that goes with it. But like when you talk about Josh and the complexity of that, it's a totally different animal. Sorry, didn't mean
It
to
is,
cut
right?
it.
It is. And I think that's another really cool thing about the way that we approach the market is, being that we're partnering primarily, well, pretty much exclusively with third-party companies for the peripherals that get controlled. Um, you're not building your control necessarily specific to that home, and then it never you know what I mean? It's not surgery to make it work for another home.
That was the very crude point that I stumbled over trying to make right there. But exactly, like here's a solution that could evolve, right? Like you didn't just buy this thing for a year or for a 6-month window or for a 12-month window or what have you. I mean, I think it's nice to have the ability to say, here's a flat rate, Mr. or Mrs. Customer. And here's also an option where you don't have to pony up all of this bread. Just know that, in order to keep your system up and running, we're going to be coming knocking on your door, which again sounds kind of like what we're seeing with some other control platforms around the industry right now.
Yeah. I mean, and what I usually suggest is like figure out as an integrator how you're going to go to market with Josh. So we all know that sometimes presenting too many options to the customer can be problematic, right?
Ruins the party for sure.
It does. It can, they can overanalyze all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying you should hide anything from your customers, but if we do our jobs effectively up front and we consult and we ask the right questions and we understand how the customer likes to buy and what the experience is that they're looking for, then you can kind of come to the conclusion on how you're going to present this whole thing to your customer. So, we have some that approach it both ways as an either or, but I found that the most successful kind of determine, are you going to sell Josh to build RMR or are you going to sell it to chase projects, right? And we give you both options. And then if you're maybe unsure how you can make RMR work in your business or you don't have the tools for it, right, we can manage the RMR for you. So that's another thing that we rolled out at CEDIA, right? We invested in the tools.
I love that.
I love it. It's great because we do have those people, right, that are like, man, I'm a 3 to 5 person shop. I don't really have the tools or the manpower to manage this recurring revenue, but I like the idea of mail money, right? I want money mailed to me every quarter. It helps me sleep better at night when I know that I'm going to make payroll on the money that's guaranteed and I'm not having to chase projects if we run into a supply chain issue or whatever, those kinds of things, right? So if you are that shop and you're interested in how you can start with RMR, Josh can be a really good tool for you because we can manage it for you. And give you a cut of it where all you have to do is sell it, activate it, and then you move on and you collect quarterly checks from us. So again, whether you have the mechanism in place and you want to manage RMR, if you don't have the mechanism in place or unsure of how to, but you want to get into it, we have that solution for you. Or if you just don't want to deal with RMR at all and you just want to sell the project and move on, we have that tool for you. So again, everything we try and use the dealer as our guiding focus of options. Every action that we do, how does it impact the dealer, how does it impact the customer, and if that's a positive for both of those and we have the demand for it, then we tend to start moving in that direction.
I love it.
Dude, the flexibility is great. I mean, just being able to, again, kind of dovetails right into the philosophy of like, hey, the dealer is the expert, whichever way they want to skin that cat, or something less offensive to PETA. Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
Well,
that's great.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
One thing I didn't touch on specifically, though, that you asked, because I kind of rabbit trailed on the focus piece, is the crowdfunding thing with the Josh Edge. So a quick story on that. We have a president's club, as we call it, kind of the people that advise us, and we've solicited dealer feedback basically for a long time in many different ways that have said, hey, it'd be great. I want to do more Josh, but I need that handheld tactile remote. We've got the Ava products, which are fantastic products. They've been awesome. They are premium products, and not every customer will put a $1,300 remote in the guest room, right? And we realize that. And so we've been asked for a long time, hey, we need a kind of a handheld tactile remote. And so the Josh Edge, basically we said, let's put this concept out there, a project essentially, as we call it. We're calling it Josh Edge. and let's find out what the market is really looking for here. And so that was where the story behind the crowdfunding came from, is like, okay, you guys have asked us for this for a really long time. Here's kind of our idea. If you think this is a good idea, let us know. You have a chance to go back and be a part of it early. And the reception was overwhelming with how many people are looking for that product. And so that was kind of the story behind it, is we wanted to see what the market demand was actually like, but we also we've taken a lot of dealer feedback in that product. The way that it works, we've implemented some things in it that have actually come from dealer feedback. So we wanted it to be a product that people felt like they could be a part of bringing to market. And it was a really, really fun and I think unique way to bring a product to market, but it's been overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah, we're excited. We got to hold it. We got to hold the one that was full of sand, to check the weight.
We got to hold one that lit up. I mean, I don't know about you, but I saw
right.
the lights come on that thing. I was like, it's real now.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to that product, and the dealers are too. And we're still taking feedback. So any of you guys that are Josh dealers that are listening to this, if you have feedback for us on the Josh Edge, again, I can't guarantee that everything we got to check as many boxes. We're getting tons of demand, but we want your feedback, whether it's a software feature, a hardware feature, but whatever it is, please send us a note at sales@Josh.AI on what you'd like to see, and we'll make sure that it gets to our engineering team.
Absolutely. Well, we are we're coming up on the end, but before we go, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the N64 controllers over your shoulder. First of all, to make sure that my old eyes are actually right, are those actually N64 controllers I'm seeing over there?
So these are actually Nintendo 64 controllers that connect to the Nintendo Switch.
Yes. I missed out on that pre-sale, but
yeah.
Awesome.
So what was actually funny is my good buddy Mark, who is also on our team, I stayed at his house for a night when I was in Colorado visiting dealers once, and he goes, I got some of those Nintendo 64. And I'm like, damn it, I missed them. I wanted them. And I was like, I've tried. They're sold out. I was like, will you sell me one of yours? And he's like, no. He goes, those things are super hard to find. And anyway, we're sitting there like just playing Mario Kart or something. And he's like, hey, I don't know if this is real, but it says they're in stock. Yep. And they just happen to be in stock. So I was like, 2 of them. Yep. So keep your eye out, because it sounds like maybe this was like over a year after they released me. This was just a few late last year. So anyway, but with that said, I do actually have a CRT TV and an original Nintendo 64 with the 64 controller like right over there as well. So I've got a couple little retro games also, but these are the ones that connect.
So now that you've established your cred, and I appreciate that, what is your GoldenEye setup? Are you an odd job with the golden gun? Are you a Jaws with slappers in the pyramid?
Like, I hate that game. I've never played it.
What's
I definitely play GoldenEye. What's funny too about GoldenEye, so I hadn't played that game in forever, and my brother was staying with us over Christmas, and so we took out the Switch controller and played GoldenEye. Like, everything's backwards.
Yes.
Like,
it's next to impossible.
So weird to like aim with my left thumb and direct with my right fingers, and so like it was just a clobble like mess. And so anyway, I'm definitely a golden gun guy. I am that guy that like has never been super talented at like first person shooters. So if there's like a cheat gun that gets me a one-shot kill, I just try to get to that as fast as I
can. Yep. I showed my kid, obviously I wasn't playing it on the fancy schmancy N64 controllers for the Switch, but I did download GoldenEye to my son's Switch and basically said, listen, this is what started it all. I know you like Fortnite, but this is what the very beginning was. And he played it for maybe 30 seconds and was like, this sucks. I'm out.
Man. So you didn't get him early enough. No. I got to give kudos to Mark, his little boy. I think he's like 4 or 5 years old. Sorry if I forgot his age, but he's all into, like, Mark has an insane retro game collection. I mean, like, beyond. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to disclose the amounts that he spent on his retro game collection, but it is intense. Almost every console, every major game you can imagine. And so anyway, it's like one of he and his son's things as they play like original Mario and Mario Kart and all that on his theater downstairs. So
cool.
He got him up early.
Can we? Is this the right format to ask for a feature with Josh.AI where you can plug it into RetroPie and say, "Hey Josh, I want to play Dig Dug," and it just does everything behind the scenes and pops it up on the screen for you? Because
hey man, there you go. We'll turn it in and see where it goes.
Let's see
If
what
any dealers want that too, send us a note.
there you go.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, again, Tyler, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. We are so stoked to be your partners. And with Josh.AI, it's been great so far, and we are looking forward to it. We love the product, and look forward to bringing it to more folks.
Yeah. One more thing I wanted to do real fast is here's where we write a check for ourselves that we have to cash. So be on the lookout for some in-market announcements for Josh.AI training in person. So we will be working diligently here with Tyler behind the scenes to set up a date so that you guys can come out here and see firsthand what it's all about. I think the sales training aspect of this is certainly one part of it, but having Tyler in market with us with some Josh product to be able to see really how simple it is and how you can sort of check your brain out from some of the control thought processes that you have to go
relearn
through.
the process. It's a lot easier on this side.
Oh my God. Like when we saw what we saw in Colorado, I was just, again, I had to like go back in time. I'm like, how how many years of my life I probably spent in front of a computer trying to capture codes or editing hex or something like that. Like all of that stuff could go
like a caveman, a caveman chiseling the wheel, and a 66 Chevy Nova drives past him. You're like,
exactly. You don't even, you can't even comprehend. So yeah, just again, there's a part where we hold ourselves accountable on video. So again, be on the lookout for announcements related to some upcoming Josh.AI training within the territory. Again, Tyler, thanks so much, man, for joining us today. Means the world, and thanks for the time last week. We got a lot out of it, and going to continue to take that energy and take it out into the world and get some more guys on board the Josh.AI train.
Awesome, man. Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on. Let me kind of share a little bit of data. If any of you are listening or interested, sales@josh.ai goes to our entire sales team. You're welcome to email me directly to tyler@josh.ai. Whether you need help selling, designing, deploying, or you're not a dealer and you're just curious, kind of what it means to be a Josh dealer and want to learn more about our go-to-market approach and kind of what makes us different, feel free to reach out directly. Obviously, Jayson and Chris are going to be I guess Jason's your local guy, but Chris is also your local guy.
Got his back. Got everybody's back.
Yeah, you got everybody's back. They'll take care of you as well.
Yeah,
we're super stoked to have you guys work as our partners as well. So I think the market is definitely prime for some Josh, some Josh projects, and you guys are coming in at an amazing time, and I couldn't be happier to have you on the team. So
awesome,
excellent, man. Thank you.
Thanks again for your time, man.
Anytime, guys. Have a good day.
All right, you too.
Take care, everybody.